3 months, 5 countries, 6 states. And you know what I found? That old saying is really true. Wherever you go, there you are. Wherever you go, there you are. That, by the way, is in Luxembourg, a very, very, very old building that has seen a lot of things, and it's still there. And it helped me to make peace with that. Because why do we go on a sabbatical? Or why do we go on a long vacation? Well, we do that to interrupt the monotony, the sometimes inertia, the 150,000 repetitive thoughts that we have about everything. Have you ever noticed that? Our thoughts are the same over and over and over. And what happens when we give ourselves the gift to step out of our regular day and week and month, we become present to new thoughts. Where have I heard that before? Right? Because that's what we're teaching. And so we have to find ways to interrupt the regular program. And I can tell you a sabbatical, perfect for that. Absolutely perfect. Absolutely perfect. And so if you know me, you know that I love something that we Germans call Fernweh. And Fernweh means, I just want to be someplace else than here. That's really what Fernweh means. I have a desire to be far away from here. And so I happen to love it. I happen to love it all my life. I had this desire to go places. And how fortunate am I that I found a partner who loves it almost as much as me. So thank you, Tom. And with that, the realization that wherever I go, far away from wherever I am, where my life is, there I am. So in the first month, we took our wonderful truck and we drove up the coast of California and ocean. Yes! And then we went into the redwoods. And I had really big hopes and expectancies to feel that awe amongst these giants. And something interesting happened about 2 weeks in. Instead of feeling awe, stuff came up. And when I say stuff, you know what I'm talking about? Yes. That unconscious, completed relationship from a couple years ago? Bam! I'm like, no! There are redwoods. I want to feel the awe of the redwoods. I don't want to have this in front of my face. But it got my attention. It got my attention because I didn't have the benefit of going to work and having meetings and doing this and doing that and taking care of this. I didn't have that, right? So here I was in the redwoods with this. Luckily, I have taught several forgiveness classes. So I decided, well, I should go ahead and take a look at that. Because when stuff comes up, as religious scientists, what we know, it really has very little to do what's happening out there, right? It has to do with something within that wants to be healed. Some wound, something that is coming up that we haven't walked through. And I said, okay, I'm ready. Now, how do we deal with our stuff? Slow down. You know how much confidence and courage it takes to actually look at it? To take a look at the condition at what is happening right now and say, okay, I am going to deal with this. And I did. And I'm so grateful to have had the tools learned at the New Vision Center of how to do that. And when I walked through that, I experienced what John Steinbeck says about the redwoods. He said, the redwoods, once seen, leave a mark or create a vision that stays with you always. From them comes silence and awe. Silence and awe. Close your eyes for a moment and be willing to feel awe. And see, when was the last time you felt awe? Perhaps it was this morning when you got out of bed and maybe felt the warmth of the sunshine on your skin. Or looked at the beloved fur baby that is around, or the beloved. Or saw fingerprints of your grandkids on the window from yesterday's gathering. Walking into this sanctuary, perhaps stopping by the Peace and Meditation Garden, seeing the beauty made manifest that lives here. Turning on a computer, that you can connect with people who are sometimes thousands of miles away and feel one, feel like you belong to that community. I invite you to come back. And here is what I have found. If we don't experience awe every day, we have to do some work. If we don't experience awe every day, there's work to be done. Slowing down, forgiveness work, getting clear on what is it that gives me a limitation that I don't experience awe. So I made it through that first clearing out, and I'm so grateful because it opened me up for an amazing trip to Germany, to my home country. And how many of you have ever experienced jet lag? Right? Okay, now imagine jet lag with a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old. Yeah. So we are in Germany, everything went fine, everything went well. It's the second morning, it is 4:30, and Tom and I are awake. And so we come up with a glorious idea to go for a walk. Let's go for a walk and find some coffee, because there was no coffee where we were staying. The sun hasn't risen yet. We walk in this village that is far away from any tourist attraction. The only reason we are in this village is because my sister bought a house in the next village, an old farmhouse, and so we are in this tiny little village. And there's a picture of it. So we are walking, but by this time it's still dark. We make our way about half a mile into the center of town looking for coffee. And there's a cafe, but the cafe does not open until 6:30. And across the plaza there is a grocery store, and outside are 2 people putting goodies out, right? The store is still closed, but they're moving merchandise outside. And so we walk over there, and I ask them, is there any place here we can get some coffee? I explain to them Foreigners, jet lag, we need coffee. And they're like, no, nothing opens until 7. And so we are walking away, actually, and the gentleman says, oh, you know what, why don't we have you come into the employee lounge and we'll make you a coffee there. Now, if you know anything about Germans, we Germans like rules, right? When do you go into the employee lounge? When you are an employee. But this woman takes us into the employee lounge. We have coffee. And then she said, oh, I baked a carrot cake for the employees, and I would like you to try it. So she brings out the carrot cake, and we have a piece of carrot cake. And then she needs to go back to work to get the merchandise out. And Tom and I are sitting there, and we're just looking at each other and saying, wow. Wow. And here's my second point, what has become clear to me on this journey. When we open our hearts, amazing things happen to us. Amazing things, just like what Marcy just sang about. And the thing is, we are doing amazing things, and we're also opening up to receiving amazing things. And on the surface, that looks a lot like a transactional thing, right? I give and I receive. I give and I receive. But what I have become so aware on this trip that was filled with beloveds bestowing such goodness on us without receiving anything back, that it behooves us to learn to give and receive, not on a transactional level, but on a transformative level. Allowing us to give without wondering what comes back and, counting. And to receive, and here's where I invite us to breathe, to receive without immediately thinking, how can I pay that person back? Because you see, it diminishes the giving if that's how we meet it. It diminishes the giving if we meet it immediately with, okay, you gave me this, I give you this. Then it's a transaction. Bless you. If we allow ourselves to receive freely and to give freely, it has the possibility of becoming transformational. And then we moved and we went to France. In southern France, friends of ours retired there. What a concept. They retired to France, southern France, and we enjoyed 10 days of just bicycling through this incredible countryside. And something happened there as I was out there next to the sunflower fields. I realized that there are things in my life that I want, deeply desire, and that so far I hadn't allowed myself to actually ask for. And some of those things are very personal, and some of those things are the realization how beneficial stepping away from being the spiritual leader at New Vision Center is. And so I wrote a letter to the Leadership Council because I became so clear for me to serve in this capacity, to give of myself, I have to take time away every year. Not every 7 years when we get a sabbatical. I need to do this every year. So not to the extent of 3 months, but going forward, I am very clear that I will not be in the community in August. I will take the entire month off. Now, thank you. Thank you. It took a lot of work, what I like to call work, to come to that point, to feel so clear, this is what I want, and to immediately sit down and do the things that it takes to make that happen. And so we're going to make that happen. And what I have learned, this becoming clear on what it is that we want, has to come with clearing out any limiting belief around it. Because how often have you had a brilliant idea and the next thought in your mind is, well, but how would that look? Or what would they think? Or is that even possible? Right? Anybody ever had a brilliant idea and then the next thought negates it? Yeah. And so when we engage in our work, we remove those limiting ideas, that chatter. And we step up to the universe and say, this is who I am. And I will give everything I have. And then I will take time away. So, beloved, that wonderful question, what has become clear to you since last we met? Those are my answers for today. I have become clear that forgiveness work, slowing down, doing our work, is a constant invitation of the divine for us to be all that we can be. We have to get clear when it is ours to give and do so graciously without attachments, and when it's our time to receive, to open our hearts and let go of control and receive. Yes. And I have learned to ask for what it is that I truly want. Dr. Ernest Holmes, the founder of our teaching, says it so beautiful when he says, realizing that all actions start in and are a result of consciousness. So we are invited to prepare our mind to receive the absolute best that life has to offer. Are you ready for that? Yes? How about online? Yes. I'm so glad we are on this journey together. We are going to continuously work on that. I love you all. Thank you. Please join me as we anchor all of this goodness in. I invite the practitioner in training. I invite you to stand with me as we hold the consciousness of this now moment, right here, right now. As we affirm that there's only one power, one presence, that it is the divine, and it is so fully present right here. We recognize it as grace, as wisdom, as peace, as harmony, as joy, as this infinite lightness of being. And it is in this moment that I speak a word for all of the beloveds who have placed the prayer request into our prayer ministry. For all of those prayers that are on our hearts. The realization that in the asking and the speaking of the prayer, the result, the blessing is already given. And so I know for this beloved community, peace and love and expansion, wisdom and grace. And with such great gratitude for all of the good that is taking place in this very moment, for that experience of awe, I just simply place this word into universal law, trusting without a question that it is fulfilled. Thank you, life. And so it is.